Hey, good morning. So you think you want to start a dairy farm? Well, you need to ask somebody in the know about the dairy business. So I started milking cows full time in 1987, and I sold out, I believe, January 1st of 2014. And so I'm in real estate, South Central Missouri. I get a few dairy farm listings. I've actually got one that's a smaller dairy right now. And so I get calls on those dairies. And the first thing, so there is a chance that you would succeed if, even if you didn't know anything about the dairy business. And there's a chance. It would be small, but there is a chance. And having said that, South Central Missouri, I believe, is the last place on earth that you have a chance at all of them even picking up your milk commercially on a dairy. But the problems that you're going to face, I tell folks when they call me and ask about a dairy is, okay, these are not stupid people that are running dairy farms in South Central Missouri, and they are exiting um, at a relatively high pace. The funny thing of it is, there's not that many left. So, say in the 90s, my numbers will be a little off, but in Texas County, we had in 1992, say 300 grade A permits. That was actually dairy farmers getting up every morning and milking every night or hiring that done in 300 locations in Texas County. And so you fast forward to 2023, 2024. I think in Texas County we had 8, maybe 15. Okay. So my question is to those folks that are calling me, these guys that are left are Top Gun, like the best of the best. They managers, like no loosey goosey boys and girls, number crunchers. What are you going to do different than them to succeed? And on that notion, the only people that I've seen have a chance of success are people that move in and start a dairy with really not a lot of preconceived notions, except they get up every morning and they focus on the details and they do the work. No entitlement, no, we've done it this way forever and it was profitable in the past and surely it'll come back and be profitable in the future. So there's 4 or 5 guys that I know personally, and I think there's 2 of them that have moved in and done the dairy deal, and I think there's 2 that I know of that are left. So I dairied for 30 some years, and was pretty good at it early in my career, and then we built in '08 a swing 24 parlor to really get a hold of this grass model. And, I probably should have bought 100 black cows, but hindsight's never 2020, but that would have been a better move. But anyway, just the things you're going to face, especially in Missouri. It's hotter than Hades in June, July, and August, and we grow a lot of bugs. Cows are going to try to find a safe, cool haven, and that's going to be a mud puddle. And in that mud puddle is going to be staph and, strep and just all kinds of bad bacteria that are going to try to infiltrate that udder and cause a lot of mastitis problems. So you're going to have somatic cell count problems, which is an indicator that udder is fighting off infection. So mastitis, you're going to high quality feed year round to get the kind of production you need to be at break even at $20 to $25 per 100 pounds of milk. So this is one of the formulas which I knew I was in trouble. So they say feed is 50% of your total cost. And if you if you get 2 pounds of milk for every pound of feed, and that's That's kind of standard. And your barn mix is $13 a hundred, and you know that you're going to need 2 pounds of milk, and say it's $25 a hundred. So your 2 pounds of feed is basically 13 cents. It'd be 26, and sorry, 1 pound 1 pound of feed to 2 pounds of milk. So 1 pound of feed would be 13 cents. Take it back. Yeah, 13 cents. You got two, it's 26. I'm not going to edit this out. I should have done my math. If you're 2 pounds of milk for every pound of feed, that's where I'm headed. So if your grain cost is, gee whiz, this video sucks. 2 pounds of milk for every pound of feed. And your pound of feed is, it probably is going to be 17 cents. And your 2 pounds of milk is 50 cents because you're at $25 a hundred. So you've got basically what, 33 cents left, and that's half of your production cost. It's not going to work on this video, is it? What it comes down to is, if half of your cost is feed and the other half is your true cost, you get down to zero. So I can do the math with you at a different time. But at the end of the day, you're going to cover your expenses, but you're not going to be able to pay yourself very much, and you're not going to be able to have family living figured into that. And so a lot of dairy guys, their wife works out, and then that isn't enough, and then they work out, and then that isn't enough, and then the dairy suffers. So, you know, I don't know if you'll believe me. Nobody believes an ex-dairy farmer, but I'm just telling you, the cost of everything is so high, and we haven't even got into land cost, death loss on calves. You have to wear so many hats on the dairy farm and transition so fast in a crisis. You know, and another thing I tell people, so we've got these big mega dairies, and we've got these smaller mom and pop, you know, great way to raise a family dairies. But at the end of the day, when the milk price goes up, and say it gets to $45 a hundred, those big dairies, and say that money is on a table, they produce so much milk, they take all the money off the table before the small dairy guy can even get his hand up to take some money. You know, he's going to benefit for 30 to 45 days, but you just see it so volatile. It used to take a year to 2 years for a cycle to happen. Now it takes 60 to 90 days. And it just, after you can go, you know, you can live on testosterone and you know, bravery for quite some time, especially when you're young. But after you get, for lack of a better term, kicked in the face, and you owe people money, and you're putting in long hours, and you're working harder and harder, and you get worn down. And I'm finding, basically, no matter what job you have, you're either specialized in doing, you're the best of the best, you're in the top 1%, or you need to find your 1%. So I believe real estate, I may not be in the top 1%, but I've really excelled. And, you know, the dairy taught me a work ethic and, you know, a lot of that. So if you've made it this far of rambling with Duncan Smith in the Sticks, I would ask you to like and subscribe. I'm at 255. Real estate is my game, and I love land. My family and I have about a 500-acre farm here in South Central Missouri. Primarily live water in every pasture, thanks to my dad and him being able to pick a good farm. We grow a lot of grass here in South Central Missouri. You know, a lot of folks ask, is there a dairy to rent? Well, most of these dairies, if they don't, and most of them don't, you know, like file for bankruptcy and get protection. Most of them, they do have a big enough land base, and they transition into beef, and they get outside income jobs and they excel in those jobs. But I've had a lot of people say, well, I want to rent a dairy. Well, the problem with that is the farm is already tied up with stock of beef cattle that the past operator, has brought onto the farm, and they have went through such a battle. They have very little, no confidence that you're going to make it. Like, it's kind of like dealing with the government and trying to get a government loan. They're all encouraging at the very first, like, yeah, you can do this, we'll help you, and it's going to work, and this and that. Then they give you 10,000 papers to fill out and chuckle when they do it, because you're going to have problems, which they love. And so that's the 24/7 calves, scours, mastitis. That's the paperwork is transitioned into this equation, into the dairy. And then the government loan people say, it's not looking like it's going to cash flow. It's not looking like it's going to work. And that's kind of what I'm telling you. The dairy is brutal. Most everything to do with food, I don't care if you're on the restaurant end or on the start end. If you're a commodity product, it's really tough to be profitable. Now, farming is about the heart. And I had a guy tell me a long, long time ago that land is always just a little out of reach. So if you're dreaming of starting a dairy, owning land, and the homestead deal is a little different. I would question, I think probably you need to be prepared with different classes of livestock for maybe feeding your family, but you probably need to keep them in, it's easier to buy milk at a low cost and at Walmart than it is to have just one cow. If you've got one cow, you just well have 100. So anyway, I'm doing a little rambling, and I get it. But at the end of the day, if you need to buy or sell real estate, and you want some solid advice, I'm for you, not against you. I'm very concerned with if the rest of agriculture is like the beef and dairy segment. It's very high investment, very high risk. And if the rest of agriculture is like the dairy and beef segment, which I know primarily the most about, we are headed for struggles, because the younger folks cannot get to a place mentally to take on that kind of debt to produce a food, whether that be vegetables or milk or beef or goats or sheep or whatever it is, to be profitable. And I know it's not all about the money, but mama will leave if she doesn't get new kitchen cabinets. So, and I don't blame her. I'd go with her. So your time is valuable. I probably wouldn't have changed anything. We dairied for 30 some years. We did a value added cheese plant. We did a pumpkin patch. We still do the pumpkin patch. We did a lot of things to save the dairy, and probably was told but didn't listen, maybe you need to sell the dairy. And so eventually that's what we did. Currently, we have our farm leased out to a young guy who's pursuing his beef dream, and I sell real estate because I'm trying to, God restores, but you've got to play a part of that in His plan. And it appears that real estate is part of that restoration for the Smith family. I tell people we got to keep our farm and Terra stayed. So, and I know Jesus, not necessarily in that order, but guess what? We hit the lottery. So anyway, be blessed. We got 14 minutes of dairy random talk. I hope you liked it. And like and subscribe. I'm at 255. Maybe I need to do more of these, a little more focused. Your thoughts and comments are appreciated. Keep the hate to a minimum. I've got pretty thick skin though. Go ahead, pour on the hate. I double dog dare you. Anyway, hey, be blessed. Have a good day. Over now.